Today I'm going to show you how you can get more roofing calls from your local service area ads using three main levers. If your Google local service area ad is live, but you're not getting the calls that you're expecting, then this video is going to help you fix that. So local service area ads are basically an auction. So Google is going to show your ads based on firstly your bidding amount, but also your overall quality profile, which a lot of people overlook. So if you want more calls coming in, you don't want to just increase your budget and pray for the best. You want to optimize your profile in a way that's going to fit your business best and get you the most quality leads. So the first lever we're going to talk about is showing up more often. So there's a few things you can do to make sure that you're showing up more often when people search for roofing services. The first mistake I see a lot of roofing businesses make is not having enough job types listed on their Google service ads. So this sounds really basic, but you want to make sure that all of your service types like repairs, replacements, let's say you do gutters as well, you want to make sure that all of that is listed in your ads. Because if you offer a service, but Google doesn't know that you offer that specific service, then when people search for it, your ad is not going to show up. Now, obviously, you want to be honest here. You don't want to add in extra stuff that you don't actually service, but have a look at all of the services you currently offer and make sure that they're listed in your LSA listing. So the next thing is service area. So we don't want this to be too tight. If it's too small, you're just not going to show up enough for people to actually call. So if your service area is too tight, you're not going to qualify for enough searches. And Google's own best practices say to list a more broad area, like a whole county, rather than a really narrow zone. And the reality is, if you can realistically profitably service a larger area, then you should do it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to increase the number of searches that you show up for. So the next thing we're going to talk about is opening hours. So if we have a look, I've just searched up a random area in Texas, so Arlington. Now, let's have a look at these two first businesses. So you can see that this one is closed, whereas this one is open 24 hours. Now, who do you think is going to get more calls after hours? Okay, obviously the one that's going to be open. Because if people are searching that, in the evenings at home and they see that you're closed, they're not going to bother calling because they don't think anyone's going to pick up. Whereas this business, because it's open 24 hours, they're going to be getting a lot more calls in the evenings, after work, on the weekends, etc. But the caveat here is you need to make sure that you're actually able to pick up the calls when you say you're open. So if you just set your profile to open 24 hours, but there's no one to actually pick up the calls in the evenings or on the weekends, it's actually going to reduce your profile quality overall. Because that's one of the key things that Google measures is your responsiveness. So you want to make sure that your opening hours matches up to when you can actually answer the call. And so just by simply implementing a service like an AI voice agent or a call center that allows you to pick up the phone after hours or on the weekends, it means that you can then change your profile to be open 24 hours and you're going to get a lot more calls coming in. But of course, you need to make sure you have the infrastructure there to be able to pick up the phone when you need to. Now, the last thing we're going to talk about within this first bucket is photos. So you really want to make sure you have a good number of high quality photos in your LSA ads. Now, a lot of people think that they just need to put before and after photos, but there's actually a few different types of photos that work really nicely for these ads. So the first one is the crew on the job. Okay, this is such a good photo to have. So a photo of your team working on a roof in real life. That is such a good photo to have for a roofing business. You can also add photos of your trucks with your branding. Of course, before and after photos work really well, but you can also add things like safety and cleanup photos, which customers really respond well to. And then lastly, you can add some nice close-up workmanship photos. So like a close-up of your team working on the roof, showing the different tools that they use. That just adds a bit of kind of human element to the whole thing. So that was the first lever, so showing up more. The second lever is to rank higher. Now there's a few things you can do to make sure that you're ranking higher up. The first one, which is a big one, is reviews. Now, obviously, this is pretty intuitive. Everyone knows reviews are important. The main thing for this is after every single job, you need to make sure you're always asking for a review. And it needs to be right after the job is done. So you need to ask for the review when the customer is the happiest. So as soon as the work is done, they've been shown the final reveal, they're really happy, they're stoked, they love you right at that moment. That is when you ask for a review. And you can do that in person if you're there with them, or if not, you want to make sure that you're always sending a follow-up text via SMS with a link directly to your review page and asking them for a review. This doesn't have to be complicated. It's just a really quick message like, hey, we really enjoyed working with you. If you enjoyed working with us too, then it would really help if you just left a quick review. And you can do that with this link here. That's all it needs to be, but just sending that text after every single job is really going to increase the number of reviews that you're able to get, which is going to have an exponential impact on your LSA ranking and your profile quality. The other thing to rank higher is your responsiveness. So we already talked about this a little bit in the previous section, but your ability to be able to pick up the phone and respond to messages from your LSA ads actually impacts your profile quality. So if you miss a call, you're not just missing that lead, but you're also impacting your LSA ranking. So best practices are you need to aim to answer within 2 to 3 rings. And if you do miss a call, you want to make sure that you're trying to call them back within 5 minutes. And ideally, if you can have a system in place that ensures you never miss a call, like an AI voice agent or a receptionist, or even if it's just your spouse or your wife answering the call for you until you have those systems in place, that is going to make sure that you're keeping your profile quality good enough. So the next thing we need to talk about is bidding. So in terms of bidding, there's a few different approaches. If you just want to maximize the leads coming in, then you can optimize for that with the maximize leads option. But you need to know that they might not be the most qualified leads. So there are 2 different approaches. You can either kind of qualify on the LSA side of things, where you're not just maximizing for leads, but you're maximizing for conversions. Or you can set it to maximize for leads, and you can have the qualification when you pick up the phone or when you're actually booking in appointments. Another quick tip is to set your minimum leads per week as 10. If it's anything less than that, then the algorithm can sometimes struggle because it doesn't have enough data. So if you have a really tight budget and you're manually bidding, then don't be surprised when the leads aren't coming in as you expect. The reality is LSA costs money, and you need to make sure you have enough budget to really get it going. So the last bucket we're going to talk about is the budget and kind of the math behind all of it. So for LSAs, you're charged per valid lead, which can be a call or a text. And once you hit your monthly max that you've set, then your ad can sometimes stop showing for the rest of that month. So let's say that your monthly max leads that you've set in your LSA settings is 10, and you reach 10 within the first 2 weeks, then what can happen is for the following 2 weeks, the rest of the month, you might not get any leads coming in. And so it can look like your ad has died, and that can feel a bit scary when suddenly your leads just drop off. When a lot of the times it's something as simple as your budget's maxed out for the month and you just need to increase it to make sure those leads are coming in. So here's the simplest way to think about it. You want to look at your average cost per lead in the dashboard, and then you want to multiply that by how many leads you're looking to get per month. So let's say your average cost per lead is $80 and you want 25 leads per month. That's going to equate to about $2,000 in ad spend. And so if you're spending then $800 a month, let's say, then you're going to cap out before the month ends and your leads are going to stop coming in halfway through the month. So if your close rate is strong enough to be profitable, then you want to make sure that you're feeding it enough budget to make sure that those leads come in consistently. So with all of that being said, here's a 7-day action plan that you can implement now to improve your profile quality and get more business coming in. So the first thing you want to do is expand the job types you're showing up for, but make sure they're accurate to what you actually provide. You want to widen your service area if you can do so profitably. And you want to make sure that your opening hours reflect the times that you can actually pick up the phone. You then want to upload 10 to 20 extra really high quality photos, and then making sure that you're asking every single finished job for reviews right after the job is finished. And another thing that you really need to be doing if you're not is tracking all of your data. So you need to be tracking all of the calls and the messages that you're getting from LSA, and then you need to be tracking your close rates, your appointment booking rates, and any other relevant information. Because if you don't know your numbers, you're not going to know what the problem is when things go wrong. Whereas if you track all of these things, when something goes wrong or it's not performing as you'd expect, you can have a look at the numbers and know exactly where it's going wrong. So if you want more calls coming in from your local service area ads, then make sure you try and implement as much of these as possible. I hope that video was useful. If it was, then hit the subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one.